up everyone? I'm your female otaku and I'm here to review the finale episode of Grimoire of Zero. And you know, with the second half of the series, I've complained quite a bit of times, whether they were more ranty or more of just me just giving my overall opinion of the second half. I gotta say, the finale episode really fixed a lot of problems that I had with the second half of Grimoire of Zero. And this finale episode felt like something out of episode 1, which is the reason why I continued to watch Grimoire of Zero, because episode 1 was so freaking good. It had a great premise, and you know, in the first few episodes, even though they were episodic, it was still very enjoyable. And as I've said plenty of times before, I felt like that an episodic format with an overarching story would have been best for Grimoire of Zero. But you know what we got, so let me talk about this finale episode. Okami tries to kill 13 once again, but decides to let him go. And same with Albus actually towards more the end of the episode, but I'll get to that a little later. So everyone does their part in making the circles and then coming to the center to, cast the magic spell or whatever. Then we need the sacrifice, that being Mercenary, which he's not gonna die, and he doesn't. And they were able to get rid of magic in Wenius. But that does not mean their journey is over just yet. As Zero says that just because magic was in Wenius doesn't mean that it stayed in Wenius. Obviously, there had to be more towns and other kingdoms that had magic. Because, with the Kingdom of Wenius, you have not just the capital itself, but also other side towns and villages here and there. That's basically what Zero is talking about. There are other villages and just other places in general that most likely have magic. So that's going to be Zero and Mercenary's journey for the rest of the series, which probably continues on in the light novel. And that's actually a pretty good way to end off a series, with concluding a lot of their major points, but also having, a new beginning to where it's nothing forced like, oh man, there's a new bad guy in our midst, we gotta take care of this. Like, no, it actually transitions smoothly to the light novel, so good job with that. Another thing that I was surprised to see, and honestly I didn't really expect, but I'm glad this happened, was that Albus and Mercenary's relationship has finally come to a good end. They have been fighting and arguing with each other, then they were, shocked with each other at times, especially during the reveal with Albus's actual gender and who she's related to. But over the course of these 12 episodes, Albus has finally come to get along with Mercenary, care for Mercenary, and actually give him a little peck on the cheek. Albus is now the sorcerer of state, taking over 13's position, and faked 13's death. Of course, she could have killed him, but decided not to and let him go. Remember when I said in the beginning of this review that this finale episode fixed a lot of the problems that I have with the second half? And you all know the majority of problems that I do have with the second half is 13 himself, and how I didn't understand his relationship with Zero, and as to why he's doing all this. Now it makes a little more sense. Zero said that 13 is her elder brother. Now this could mean two things, as I'm not too sure what Zero means by elder brother. Like, are they actually blood related, or is he a older brother figure? This is actually something I've questioned before, as I wasn't too sure if 13 was more like infatuated with Zero, or if he felt like some sort of older brother or father. I said this in last week's episode review, and now I know. So this definitely makes a little more sense as to why 13 acted the way he did. There is still some, quite a bit of things that don't make sense, like, him being extremely bipolar, like how he acted towards Okami in this episode when he was just like, oh yeah, your soul is beautiful. I'm just like, 13, you don't talk like that at all. Where is this coming from? 13 says goodbye to Mercenary by saying, if you make her hate the world, I will destroy it. And off he goes. I've mentioned this before, but one of my favorite things, and honestly I think it is the strongest point to Grimoire of Zero, is the relationship between Mercenary and Zero, and we haven't really gotten the two of them together and act like, buddy-buddy with each other, playing off of each other's antics in a really long time, and we got that back in this episode, and that was the reason why I really enjoyed this finale. It was because these two were acting how they used to act back in the beginning of the series. This is a relationship that a lot of us love dearly. Whether you ship it or not, it is certainly a fun dynamic. And seeing Zero being back to herself instead of being this damsel in distress, which I really hated, because Zero, she's way better than that. To dumb down your character who is supposedly the most powerful character in your series to a damsel in distress just doesn't make any sense. But now we're starting to make sense as to why Zero cannot turn Mercenary back into a human. And I was surprised that he actually really wanted to be a human still. I thought he would have changed by this moment, but no, he still wants to go back to being a human. Understandable. And Zero can't because she's less powerful after using all of her magic on, you know, wiping magic from Wenius. And it'll also be a little harder because Mercenary's soul, after being taken over by a demon, was bounded even stronger with the beast's soul. So that sucks. Do I recommend Grimoire of Zero? Well, after this finale, I can say I will recommend this to someone, but not just on a whim. Like, hey, you looking for fantasy? Why don't you check out Grimoire of Zero? Like, no, like, if you're looking for fantasy and you're bored, you've seen like all the major fantasy anime out there, then yes, I would recommend Grimoire of Zero. But as a go-to fantasy anime, like, no, I would not recommend this. Which I'm actually rather surprised because White Fox's specialty is fantasy anime in general, whether it be fantasy comedy, fantasy ecchi, fantasy moe, fantasy, the dark fantasy, you know, White Fox shines in that aspect. But this one kind of fell a little flat, but hey, all studios do have their, you know, weak links in their line of work. I also gotta say, I truly love the ending theme of Grimoire of Zero. I'm not too sure if I mentioned this before, but I finally downloaded it actually. It is a beautiful song and I love the visuals as well. And it will most likely be in the top 10 ending themes of 2017, for me at least. Overall, I'd have to rate this a 7 out of 10. It would have been a 6, but thanks to that finale that saved a lot of problems that I had, I got it boosted up to a 7. So let me know your thoughts on this finale and the series as a whole. Would you recommend it to someone, and under what circumstances, and what would you rate it? Catch me later as I review the finale, Suka Suka. I'm your female otaku, sayonara.